Before I get into today's video, remember to follow me on Twitter. So my Twitter, the link is in the description below. You can also find me. My handle is @JacksonKruger. Come over, say hi, and anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. All right, let's talk some Lamar Jackson. This was very fun. He's electric to watch and a really good quarterback. I don't know how many quarterbacks get put in that situation and win the football game. I really don't. I think that what he can do is just so incredible, and I know he got some criticism for the 2 interceptions early on, so I want to just start there. I want to talk about those, because the first one I actually don't even think was his fault. So here it is. It's going to be zone coverage, and it's Sammy Watkins who's running a route. They're just going to get into a gap in coverage right there. It's a simple play on a 3rd down and 8. This is actually kind of a safe play. I'm recording this video just after I recorded my Derek Carr video, and I praised Carr for doing a very similar thing of just making this throw on a 3rd down and 8 and hope that your receiver can sort of fall forward, pick up the 1st down. Doesn't always work, but at least it's a safe play to do when you're not going to get in trouble typically. And watch how right when this play starts, so Jackson gets into that position, and once he starts to make this throw, you see Watkins has fallen down. So it's almost a bang, like Watkins fell down a little bit before Jackson started the throwing motion, but it was like just barely before. Clearly Lamar had decided to make this throw, and all of a sudden Watkins had fallen down, and that's just going to make this a lot more difficult. And so look, the throw ends up going right towards Tyrann Mathieu. It looks kind of bad, but once you see the fall, it's kind of just like, okay, no, like it was a fine throw. It just sort of happened to happen that the receiver fell down, and in zone coverage, there's probably going to be a defender behind that receiver who can intercept it, and in this case, take it for a touchdown. Again, maybe you could argue he should have noticed it earlier, but that seems like we're asking a lot for a quarterback right there. I think it was a fine play, and it's just kind of one of those unfortunate scenarios. Now, this one I will crush him for. This one made 0 sense. I don't get it. Maybe once the All-22 comes out, there'll be more, but it doesn't look like it. Because, for one thing, you got to understand the situation right here. It's a 3rd down and 14, and you're down 7, and to me, this just felt like Lamar Jackson felt like he can't only kick a field goal, because you're playing the Chiefs. They score so much. On their first drive, they marched right down the field and scored, and he's just thinking, we need touchdowns. And while that's true, 3 points is better than having 0. You can't just be stupid with the football. I believe this coverage is quarters. Again, a little bit difficult to tell because I'm only going to be able to see the field for a second. The camera's going to pan right after I press play on this, but it's definitely 2 safeties deep, and you have Hollywood Brown running a route over the middle, and since it's the zone coverage, a linebacker is going to kind of pick him up, and I think that for Lamar, that's why he's making this throw. He's thinking, oh, hey, Hollywood Brown on a linebacker. That's a good matchup. But if you're going to do that, you have to throw it quickly, but he doesn't want to throw it quickly because it's 3rd and 14. So instead, he waits too long and then kind of throws one up there, puts too much air under it. And I mean, also look at how far past the 1st down marker they even are. You don't have to do this. Like I just said, sometimes throw it underneath and hope your receiver can make a play. That sometimes is the better strategy. He's basically throwing it to Hollywood Brown, or I guess Marquise Brown. He doesn't want to be Hollywood anymore. I naturally call him Hollywood, so my bad on that. Marquise Brown. And Tyrann Mathieu just leaps up and makes that catch, which is, it's easy for him to do. I mean, Lamar threw it into triple coverage on Marquise Brown, who, he's actually had a pretty good season so far through 2 games, but he's not known for being a jump ball receiver, right? That's not his game. And certainly, he's not Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson's the only guy you throw to when he's triple teamed. And then, of course, let's talk some positives now. We got to start off with his running ability. This play was just insane. This is just a ridiculous play. This is the definition of like, okay, a replacement level quarterback does not do this. In fairness, you wouldn't put a replacement level quarterback in this situation to begin with. So it's hard to truly evaluate Lamar just because he is so unique. But what's going to happen is that this is a designed quarterback run with no timeouts left at the 47-yard line. So in fairness, if they gain 3 yards, they're basically in Justin Tucker's field goal range, right? He's the GOAT. But at the same time, you'd have to realistically you want to gain a little bit more than that. And you might not have much more plays left, only 26 seconds left. And so watch how this play starts, and, Lamar takes off. You have a halfback in front blocking. That's the advantage of having Lamar run with the football, is you have that blocker, whereas if Lamar handed it off, You don't have that blocker. And so watch Lamar fake right, then fakes left, and jukes out multiple Kansas City players, and even kind of a third one towards the end there, with that being Tyrann Mathieu. But it looked like Mathieu kind of, half-heartedly went over to try and make that tackle as well. So I don't know how much credit we give for that third one. But those two, those were just straight up back-to-back moves right there. Gets him in field goal range. Those 3 points were the difference in this game. So if he doesn't make that move, gets tackled immediately, maybe they don't kick the field goal, maybe they don't win this game. Of course, it's impossible to play that game. You can always go back and find a thousand things, but it was a good play. And stuff like this is another clear example of what Lamar brings to the Baltimore Ravens is, you talk about someone like a Derrick Henry, right? And what he brings to the Titans, not just when he is running the football, but just the attention he brings can open stuff up on the outside. Well, Lamar Jackson has the same thing. Even though he is a quarterback, he makes things easier for himself to throw the ball. It's so unique. And again, there's nobody like that in football. It's almost like, it's not a perfect example, but it's a bit like Shohei Ohtani, where just he can do multiple things and adds value that way. It's the same thing with Lamar. So this is going to be zone coverage. And again, you have a receiver who's running a route over the middle. This is Marquise Brown, not Hollywood Brown. And it's going to be a play action. And watch just the attention that this play action is going to bring, even though, it's not even a, Lamar Jackson run, it's a play action. But look, so Lamar fakes the handoff, and even when he pulls it back for a second, Marquise Brown, you see how open he is. Also looking kind of in between Lamar and Brown, you see that there is a Kansas City defender who's right in front. Look at how close he got. Another aspect of this play action thing is when Lamar pulls it back, typically then the defense says, okay, it's a passing play. But when Lamar pulls it back, it's like, well, okay, got to make sure I go tackle Lamar now. Oh, shoot, it's still a passing play. Now there's someone wide open. So Lamar hits Hollywood Brown, who picks up a big gain. I think, someone might say, he hit an open receiver. Sure, good job, you hit the open receiver, but how much credit do we give you for that? But to me, I think how he got open matters. He got open because of the threat that Lamar had. This play, also incredible. It's a goal line scenario, and just the fact that he can do this stuff on the goal line, that makes things easier. And by the way, this is kind of set up as though it's an option play, but this is a straight-up quarterback run all of the way. The fullback is going to pull over. He is going to be blocking. You have Andrews blocking on the side. This is entirely Lamar is going to keep the ball himself and run with it. And watch how right when this play starts. So Kansas City does bite on this, fake handoff pretty heavily. And this is something that, my podcast co-host Kyle brought up that's interesting, as he kind of said, hey, maybe teams should just constantly go for Lamar. Always go for Lamar, take him out of the game, force the running backs to beat you. It's still you're gonna eat the, okay, now you're taking away an extra defender, which sucks, but at the same time, that's better than getting beat with Lamar, because watch how Lamar keeps it himself, and he can just run by everybody, and he's gonna get into the end zone for a touchdown. Not as dramatic as doing a flip into the end zone like we saw with his next rushing touchdown that looked very similar, although that one was more open, less contested. But as a whole, again, he breaks the game. That's really how I feel about it. I recognize that my feelings on Lamar Jackson is different than other people and how they feel about Lamar Jackson, but I do think that someone like him is just such a game-changing quarterback, and we haven't seen somebody like him who can completely not just be a quarterback who can run, but basically completely turn opposing defenses into having to focus on stopping the run and set up his own passing game. We saw it a little bit, like Cam Newton won an MVP doing a very similar thing, so maybe not. We haven't seen it. Obviously, Michael Vick, although he didn't run too many design runs, those were mostly scrambles. But regardless, it's just, I think that this stuff can work. I think that this stuff has worked. The stat I keep going back to is last season, the bottom 5 receiving cores ended up 4 of them had the bottom 6 offense in football. This is using Pro Football Focus's receiving core rankings and points per drive for the best offenses. The one exception was the Baltimore Ravens, who finished 15th despite having a bottom 5 receiving core. It's really difficult to have success if you can't get guys open. Well, they actually had decent success at getting guys open. I thought their receiving core played solid, and when Rashad Bateman comes back, they might actually have a good receiving core, and I think once they get a good receiving core, look out. This passing offense will really be able to take off, and the running offense already has. So That's what I think. I am firmly into the Lamar Jackson fan club, and welcome all new Lamar Jackson fan club members. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.